So did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Did you grow up with entrepreneur parents? Is this life skill that was instilled in you, or is this something that has been a surprise?
Total surprise. My mom's like, I'm still like confused. Like, how did you end up doing this? Like in a supportive way.
Right.
But yeah, no, I always thought I was gonna have I was gonna be a teacher or a doctor, and then eventually a physical therapist. That I would have like this title. I thought that was like a very safe box to be in, which it has been great. But yeah, I never like considered myself wanting to do anything like this.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Blueprint. I'm Courtney Cook, founder of Monarch COO, where I help mission-driven entrepreneurs grow their businesses. Each week, I sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs to explore the stories behind their successes and challenges. Whether you're just dreaming of starting a business or already building one, this podcast is here to show you that entrepreneurship is more attainable than it might seem, with insights for every stage of the journey. Let's dive in to today's conversation and see what it takes to build a business. Sara is the founder of Studio Chiodo, a virtual interior design studio based in Kansas City, serving clients nationwide. Her design journey began while renovating her own builder-grade suburban kitchen as a busy mom of two, a project that ignited her passion for design. Since then, she has designed more than 125 spaces for clients, establishing herself as a trusted design resource. Sara specializes in creating photorealistic renderings and 3D models that allow clients to visualize their spaces before making a single purchase. She works with homeowners, builders, and design teams to bring clarity and confidence to projects of all sizes. Welcome to the podcast, Sara.
Thank you for having me, Courtney.
I'm excited you're here. I've
Yes,
followed you on
you.
Instagram and been so inspired by you, and
Thank you.
am thrilled to just hear more about your story. So, will you share more
Yeah.
about your business and what you do, who you serve, and how long you've been a business owner?
Yes. So I am the owner of Studio Chiodo. I'm a virtual interior design studio. So I work with the ability to like be virtual. I work with clients nationwide. So I help design their spaces remotely. So I work with them closely on, anything from like a small room refresh to even helping people with their new construction homes. So I kind of specialize in that visualization aspect. I do 3D modeling and rendering. So, like if you are building a new home and you're curious on how, your countertops, your hardware, your light fixtures, your paint colors, how, your furniture will look in your new home, I help, source furniture and really like make those renderings so you can essentially like visualize your future home, whether it's built or if you're just, like kind of making over a single room before you make a single purchase. So before you purchase any furniture or anything like that. So I also, help with space planning. So helping people decide on what size coffee table, what size
Mm,
sofa, because a lot of those things are kind of hard. Like when you're,
yeah.
furnishing a space, it's like, oh my God, I need to do this. And will this fit? And how do I make sure everything ties together? So that's kind of like where I come in and I help people kind of develop this single vision and then basically give them as many tools as I can from a virtual standpoint, since I don't like do any of the ordering for my clients, but I give them
Mhm.
all the products and I'm like, okay, here you go. Now you just bring it to life. And so kind of like
Awesome.
walking them through that and giving them a really strong visual roadmap.
That is awesome. So the
Yeah.
space planning is kind of like, how does my couch fit? Like, should I have a couch and a chair, or should I have
Yes.
two chairs?
Yes, exactly. So, like, if a client is coming to me, with their living room and they maybe have a sofa and they're like, I just don't really know. I want to buy new furniture, but I'm not sure what. I
Yeah.
have all my clients take room measurements, and I use modeling software to essentially like create their room based off of their room measurements. And then as I'm looking for product online, I check all the measurements and basically like put it into their layout so I can make sure walkways are the right width, that you have the coffee tables not too small in proportion to the sofa, or like if
Yeah.
it's a kitchen, deciding on, the island pendants based off of the island size. So it's not too big or too small, or hey, if you want to put a table in your breakfast nook, we got to make sure it's, 48 inches, not 60 inches. So it's not too big, those kinds of things. So really like thinking about how you maneuver your space. And so it's not too open, like, you're taking advantage of the space, but not making things feel cramped either. That's kind of that
Amazing.
space planning piece of things.
Okay, cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So, what were you doing before you started your business?
I'm actually a physical therapist as well. So that's what I went to school for.
Oh,
Yeah. And I am still working as a physical therapist, just not very often. So I basically
yeah.
work in the hospital like one day a week, but my PT job is really flexible and has been a really nice kind of like support for me as I've been growing my business. Really a safety net, because they're frequently needing help in the hospital and those kinds
Mm-hmm.
of things. So I've been able to kind of work to cushion money wise too as
Yeah.
I've been kind of growing my business. So yeah, I still do that, and then I just have my interior design hat too.
That's so cool. So they're
Yeah.
even one day a week. I guess that's a great
Yeah.
nugget for people. Never like if even if it's one day a week, people they're still looking for your help in other
Yeah.
ways where it's like
Yeah.
we'll take you for whatever we can get you and you
Yeah.
can continue to work on your business. That's so cool.
I know. I feel like when you're like growing a business or people talk about doing side hustles and things, there's can be this pressure to like just go all in and put like, all your,
Yeah.
I don't know what the saying is, marbles in one basket,
Yeah,
but
your eggs in one basket. Yeah.
thank you, marbles. Um, but but yeah, I really was kind of able to like tiptoe my way in, and scale up, scale back as needed because I had this other job. So yeah,
That's
have this other
awesome.
job still.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, so how did you what was the idea or I guess how did you know have you always had this like ability for design or if you went to college for physical therapy, where how did you hone in your craft? Like how you are so talented.
Oh, thank you.
Even just your background. So
Thank you.
how have you turned kind of this obviously this strength and something that you've been given as a skill set,
Mhm.
how have you been able to turn this into a business?
Well, I like never considered myself creative at all growing up.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
was like math, science, books.
Yeah.
I saw my like creative friends and I was like, that's not me. Um, but the more I like do this work, the more I realize that creativity is really about problem solving. And so I feel like I'm just solving different kinds of problems now. With physical
Yeah.
therapy, it's a lot of like movement. How do we help someone move better? How do we help someone like navigate their environment? And now I'm just like doing it in a design way. But yeah, after I had my kids, so my boys just turned 4 and another one's about to turn 3. I scaled back on my hospital job. I went PRN in the healthcare world. It's basically like, part time, but even less than that.
Yeah.
So we moved into this new home that I'm in now. And so we started doing like DIY projects. We remodeled our kitchen. I feel like I remember like nursing my son and just like scrolling on social media and seeing all these DIY accounts.
Yeah.
And then seeing other creators do design work like mood boards, virtual room makeovers, things like that. And I just thought like, I really would love to be at home more, not so much in the hospital setting all the time. And I started to see that as a way that I could do that. I'm like, if they could do this, I could do it. So yeah, I just started. I took a few like online courses. I started paying a lot of attention to what other people in that space were doing, and then I just did a lot of practicing. I had a friend of mine, I was like, hey, can I design your bedroom like for free, virtually, just to practice with some of
Yeah.
the softwares I was using at that time. Yeah. And then I was just like, okay, well, I guess, I'll just give it a go here. But I really like eased my way in that sense. I did my friends for free. And then I was like, well, let me just kind of soft launch this mood board service for, I think the price was like $125. And just like see what happens. I can
Yeah.
always, if I get one, I remember thinking like, if I get one booking in 1 month, like that'll be exciting and I can really
Right.
hone in on that. But yeah, the first like month I launched, I ended up getting like well over 20 clients, which was really exciting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've just kind of been like taking on clients ever since then and pivoting what I'm offering and always kind of like changing and trying to get better. I feel like every project I almost, I don't want to say over delivered because I don't want to imply that like, I was doing, like the client was like requiring me to do more
Right.
than what they
Right.
paid for. It was really just me trying to kind of learn with every single
Hmm.
project and taking it as an opportunity to grow my skill set.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So did you create your own mood board for your kitchen, or was that your first project and then you're like, wait, I can do this for others? Or what did that look like?
Yeah, well, so we redid our kitchen. We kept our oak cabinets, like the 90s oak cabinets. I
Yeah.
didn't do a mood board for our kitchen, but we were very thoughtful in how we, were sampling materials. I had some inspiration images. I kind of documented all of the process on social media. And the once we like, I shared the kitchen, it went viral, which always feels weird to say, but um, it basically got I had like a lot of people reaching out to me like, oh my God, like very curious about the kitchen and
Hmm.
how we did it. I wrote a blog post and that drove like a ton of traffic to my website. I still have people reaching out to me about our kitchen like this day, which is funny because I feel like I'm kind of like excited about other projects too, not just
Yeah.
oak cabinets, but it really kind of, yeah, it like totally like threw me into the design space because I was like, okay, wait, maybe I do know a little bit about design and have,
Yeah.
the ability to create like a beautiful space. And yeah, that kind of like launched me into it, honestly.
That's cool. And for
Yeah.
anyone listening who hasn't seen her kitchen reno, it's
Yeah.
what's cool about it is that, and this is in my terminology, which is
Yeah.
nothing that's going to be like design forward,
Oh, no.
but it's like being able to take what you have, the bones that you have, and they're not all bad, and being able to just make a few tweaks where I'm sure you saved a ton of money, surely,
Yes.
so that
Yes.
you're not taking everything away. You're making really strategic moves where you're like, you're probably saving a ton, but
Yeah.
making it much more effective and efficient and beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think for us, it was like, how can we make the biggest impact working with what we had? And so the biggest
Yeah.
deciding factor is, do we paint the cabinets? And people have a lot of
Yep.
strong opinions about that, which is fine. You're designing for yourself, for your client. That's
Hmm.
all that matters. But yeah, that really taught me like how to approach working with clients. Like, like are there pieces that they would like to work with, and how can we maintain those pieces, whether it be a piece of furniture, oak cabinets, and still make a big impact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
I
funny though, like even as a designer, I've like evolved so much, and there's things about our kitchen that I'm like, oh, I would do that differently now. There are small things, but it's just funny. Time changes a lot of opinions and that kind of thing. So
Oh, I bet. So how long have you been doing starting even just part-time with like that first intro of like, okay, I'm going to sell mood boards. How long
Mhm.
ago was that into now?
September 2023. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So September 2023, I did mood boards and I was doing Photoshop virtual room makeovers. I'd have clients take pictures of their space and I'd basically use Photoshop to like edit the room and the
Uh-huh.
paint colors and the furniture to be, help them visualize. I don't use Photoshop anymore, but I still do mood boards. So
I mean, the
yeah.
fact that you're a physical therapist and you know how to use Photoshop, that's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's
It's like
incredible.
a lot of, practicing and hair pulling and wanting to chuck my laptop across the room,
Yeah. Yeah.
patience. But yeah, I know I've taught myself a lot of different softwares, which is kind of, it's necessary now in any
Hmm.
field, but especially, the design world.
Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
what was the turning point when you were kind of like, this is a business, like I need to make this legit? Was there a point where you were like, this is going to work. Let's keep going?
I think just in general as far as I feel like it started kind of as a hobby and like a side hustle, but when you're growing a business, you have to treat it like a business.
Mm-hmm.
I think the point where I was kind of drowning in work because I wasn't like charging enough for my services for what I was
Yep.
putting in, which I feel like any and every business owner,
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur, freelancer like struggles with. Um, so I think the shift maybe was when I started to raise my prices. I also switched from using Photoshop to using SketchUp, which is like modeling software, which is very common for like designers, architects, because you everything is to scale. And I
Oh, cool.
started attracting some like higher paying, bigger projects that needed that modeling and the precision and the accuracy and the visualization that Photoshop I didn't feel like could deliver at that time. And people were booking, and I was like, okay, there must be something there. If this person is booking for this price and I'm not, drowning in projects
Mm-hmm.
that, maybe I could have priced more, I feel like that's when I started to feel a shift. I wouldn't say it like happened overnight. It's more
Yeah.
just been like a subtle um, kind of evolution, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. But yeah, and it's just an ever changing, evolving thing. I feel like, especially for, the freelance work that I do, which I consider myself a freelancer first and foremost, just because it's people are like looking for design work and they come to me. I'm not like really building my business to sell right now.
Yeah.
Just, but yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Basically, just to say, as I've been slowly increasing my prices, that's been helping. But I feel like
Yeah.
I'm also stepping up my value too.
Oh, for sure.
I think I look back at some of my old projects and I kind of cringe, but I feel like we all do
Everyone's got to
that,
start somewhere.
right? Yeah.
I had
So,
advice from somebody early on when I started. They were like, whatever your prices are now, you probably need to at least double them, if not triple them. And I'm like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah.
That makes me gulp big time.
I know, and it's always interesting too because I have kind of like a network of other designer friends, and I'll be like, what would you have charged for this? And someone I really like respect her opinion. She was like, I would have charged double that. And I was like, you know, so,
Yep.
but that's
Money
how
on the
you
table.
learn. And I do
Yeah,
feel like a lot of those beginning projects I wouldn't have got if the price was
for
so
sure.
high. So it really helped to build my portfolio. So I have done a ton of work where I'm like, you know what, I could probably charge more, but I would really love this piece for my portfolio. And so,
Hmm.
I've said yes to projects for that reason too.
Yep, totally.
But you only do that for so long.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're at a point too that I think you can kind of pick and choose what you say yes to.
Yes.
When the time comes, if it's like I'm drowning now, or maybe there's a wait list and
Yeah.
that's even better.
Yeah. The something I wish that I feel like I should have done way sooner than I did is realizing like the power to say no and um, saying no to projects. And also, I have people I refer people to. Like, I've had people refer other designer friends refer to me. Like, there's a
Oh,
lot of
cool.
power to me. Like, hey, I'm not the best match for you. I don't think, but you should check out my other friend. Um,
Sweet.
but yeah, because like we can't serve everybody, as a
Mhm.
business owner, entrepreneur, freelancer, like you deliver better when you focus in on who you're delivering versus trying to like be the fit for everybody. So
Yeah.
that was pivotal, I think, when I realized that too.
Yeah. Cool.
Mhm.
So did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Did you grow up with entrepreneur parents? Is this a life skill that was instilled in you, or is this something that has been a surprise?
Total surprise. My mom's like, I'm still like confused. Like how did you end up doing this? Like in a supportive way.
Right, right.
But yeah, no, I always thought I was gonna have like I was gonna be a teacher or a doctor and then eventually a physical therapist, that I would have like this title. I thought that was like a very safe box to be in, which it has been great. But yeah, I never like considered myself wanting to do anything like this. But I always I guess like looking back, I know I already mentioned that I never consider myself creative, but I was always trying things. Like I was always the kid who would always like try a project or an activity or a sport, and I would just be like all in on that. And then, once it wasn't for me, I was fine moving on. So I guess
Hmm.
like having that spirit of being willing to try and like put yourself all in and learn and like develop new skills. I've always had that as a part of me, but I never like viewed it as a like profession, if that makes sense. So it does kind of line up, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, yeah, it totally does. It makes sense. You're like, okay, looking back,
Yeah,
it all like makes sense for sure.
totally. Yeah.
So how do you balance the demands of running a business with your personal life? You're a mom of two. You're working 1 day a week in the hospital.
Mhm.
How are you balancing it all?
It's really hard, but it's getting better. It's getting better. I think now that I am better about saying no to projects and also more aware of like how much time something will take and leave cushion.
Yeah.
So, I feel like I was scheduling myself to the max to where, okay, like everything looks good, but life happens and your kids get
Mhm.
sick or you cannot get out the door fast enough for daycare. And so like I was leaving myself like no wiggle room. So
Yeah.
I think that, and then yeah, like increasing my prices, like that has helped, but it's still a struggle because my physical therapy job, when I clock out, the work is done. Like I cannot see patients when I'm gone. So
Right.
that has definitely been the biggest struggle for me, has been how can I like shut off that work, because I always have my laptop available. Like I can always be checking email. I can always be responding to clients. Like I've emailed clients at midnight, at like 3 a.m.
Mhm.
Like that's not something I am like proud of. It was just
Yeah.
like, a lot of like, I ironically like scaled back on my PT job to have more freedom. But, the first year and a half has been a lot more work than,
Yeah.
because you're wearing all the hats. You're like
Mhm.
doing all the things. You're social media marketing, all the
Yeah.
admin, you're doing a lot. So yeah, I'm just constantly like assessing where I'm at. And I have a very supportive husband and family that have been very patient with me. But I'm hoping for heading into year two, I'll continue to have that better balance. So striving for that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great segue to my next question, which is
Yeah.
what are your goals for the next year?
I would say my goals are to have a healthier balance of things, I think, and to be working with more like renovations and new construction homes, which I've done a little bit of, but to continue doing that. And yeah, I think just again, like that healthier pace is really something I'm kind of striving for. Little things like back end business stuff, having like my website more polished and, being consistent on social media, and maybe like working with some design teams in town on some projects
Mhm.
that they're doing. So like I'm the rendering person for them. So, a lot of virtual designers will, be an outsourced resource for other
Oh,
design teams. So like if I'm a
cool.
design team and I'm working on this project and I have all the pieces, so I'm in person, if this design team is in person, but they need someone to do the renderings and they reach out to me and I'm like, hey, yeah, like let me do this rendering for you and I'll get it to you in 2 weeks. So I'd love to do more of that.
Mhm.
Do more outsourcing work for other designers and that kind of thing, which would be exciting. So
Yeah, that would be really cool.
yeah, yeah.
So, what has been, as you reflect back, what has been one of the most rewarding parts of starting your business and actually making this a thriving part of your livelihood?
I think just realizing that like I built something from nothing, and the skills that I've developed, I feel really proud of myself for. I feel like a lot of times we can get caught up in our head on wanting to do things and talk about wanting to do things, but to actually like put it into action. I feel proud of myself for that, and knowing that I can teach myself something and then make money from it. So that's been awesome. And I feel like can be hard on myself sometimes. I feel like we all can be, wanting to be the, perfectionist or dealing with imposter syndrome, but checking in with myself to be like, okay, wow, I've really come a long way and have taught myself a lot and have done all these really cool projects. So reminding myself of that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Mhm.
great. I'm proud of you for being able to just recognize that too, of it's easy to kind of like you're going on the grind and you forget to reflect and look back of like, holy moly, like
Yeah,
I did this, I built
yeah,
this, and to be
yeah,
really proud because you should be, and you're setting such a great example for your kids too.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
So what are you loving, learning, and letting go of right now?
I am, let's see, loving. What am I loving? I am loving that I feel like with my clients that I have, I'm having more of a relationship with them because I have less clients, but they're paying for bigger projects. So I'm able to kind of like nurture that relationship a little bit more and be more focused on one project at a time. So I love that. As far as what I'm learning, what am I learning? I'm learning a lot. I don't know if I ever stop
Drinking through
learning.
the fire hose.
Yeah. I would say I'm learning how to be okay with good enough in terms of when you're working on a project or a design, I could work on things endlessly. Like I could always find something to tweak
Yeah.
and perfect and make better. And I'm like, you know what? This is good enough. And I also know me. If a client is not happy with something, or not that they're not happy, maybe they want something revised, I'm never going to say no. So just
Right.
knowing when things are like just shipping the thing, like, you know what?
Yes.
This is good. This is good
Yep.
enough. So I'm really trying to learn how to do that better and more frequently.
Yeah, that's smart. I think creative people probably get into this loop of, and anyone, but really creatives, I think it would be hard. I watch my husband do this sometimes
Yeah.
where it's like, I'm going to keep making these edits and these changes because I really want them. But
Yeah.
more than likely, the person you're delivering it to doesn't matter either way. And you've just wasted an hour to try to get it to this like point that probably didn't move the needle for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's a freeing thing.
Yeah,
So,
good. What about letting go of?
letting go of, well, I already, I feel like I'm learning and loving all about the perfect and letting go of the perfectionism. I feel like they all kind of tie in.
They do.
Letting go of that part of the benefit of how I'm doing this, meaning like I have my other job and I can scale up or scale down, like letting go of needing to just do it all like right now. Like I have a
Mhm.
lot of things I want to do with my business, things I want to work on, services I want to offer, and just I'm just letting go of I can just do one thing at a time and I can just focus on progress over doing a million things. And then that way I can be more present for my family and that kind of thing. So letting go of having to do it all right now.
Beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
So, final question for everyone is
Yes.
what's one thing you wish you knew when you started your entrepreneurial journey?
That you don't have to have everything figured out to get started. And then just like the act of just doing and trying, like you'll figure out the details along the way. Yeah.
Yep. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Sarah. It was so great to meet you and
Thank you
chat
for
with you and
having
learn
me.
more about where you've come from in the last few years with your business. And I will just continue to be inspired by you and your designs and what you're creating. So thank you for sharing your gift with the world and with me. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Appreciate your time and thank you for like being interested in hearing what I have to say. So I appreciate that.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Entrepreneur's Blueprint. I hope you found inspiration and insights to fuel your entrepreneurial journey. If you're looking for support in building or scaling your business profitably, visit my website or send me an email to learn more about how I help mission-driven businesses become more profitable, proactive, and efficient. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really helps other entrepreneurs discover the show, and it would mean so much to me as well. Until next time, keep building, keep dreaming, and keep going.